Hi, and welcome to this video demonstration on the PSP auralComp, a plugin co-designed with Ronald Prent. This multi-channel compressor plugin is suitable for any immersive mix. And in this video, I'm going to show you its key features, such as creating submixes for the built-in sidechain. My name is Alex with AlexProMix. Let's have a look. The main part of the plugin consists of compressor strips for each channel. Learn one of the strips, and you learn the whole plugin. Up to 16 channels are supported for a single multi-channel bus. Additionally, you can quickly group compressors for setting up multiple parameters at once by using Quick Select. auralComp is also equipped with an output stage Brickwall limiter for final peak control of previously compressed signal. Let's take a look at each compressor strip. From the top, you have attack and release settings. The attack adjust the attack time from 0.1 milliseconds to 160 milliseconds. Release ranges from 25 to 2500 milliseconds. Then you have threshold, makeup, ratio, and mix, which adjust how much of the compression signal mixes with the source audio signal at the output. The LED meters reflect input level, gain reduction, and channel's output level. Each compressor is being triggered by a fully customizable signal that allows PSP auralComp to be one of the most flexible multi-channel compressors in the market. Scenarios like rears are listening only to the fronts, sides are listening partially to the center channel, ceilings are listening to the high-end information of all the channels, are just some examples of what you can do with this powerful plugin. Below the sidechain section, you have a link knob, which adjusts the sidechain signal blend between the individual channel, which basically means the channel is listening to itself, or at 100%, it's listening to a key submix, which we'll get into later. In the key menu, you have up to 8 available submixes. And below that is the sidechain display. Before hearing auralComp in action, let's take a look at the session. This is an immersive mix created in Dolby Atmos. Instruments are panned into the 3D environment using the surround panner. Some channels are panned to the height speakers, some to the rears, and some channels are panned anywhere in between. All the tracks are going to a 712 bus with an instance of auralComp. So let's have a look at some practical scenarios. For starters, you'll notice that I'm using a medium attack and a fast release for all the channels. And you can link that by clicking on the Quick Select All, adjusting the attack and release. With this mode selected, I can also adjust the threshold for all the channels, gain makeup, ratio, mix, and all the other functions. Let's go ahead and deselect. And let's take a look at these channels a little bit more closely. In this mix, I'm allocating the drums and the percussions to the left and right channels. Now for these front channels, the left and right channels, I want them to listen to themselves when they're compressing. I don't want them to be triggered by anything that's happening in the immersive mix. But the other channels, the surround channels, which are going to be the side channels and the rear channels, I want them to be mostly listening to these front channels. So how do we do that? Well, this is where the key submixes come in. Because here I have up to 8 submixes that I can create in any order or way that I want. Now, this is my favorite feature on this plugin, the ability to create submixes to the internal sidechain. For example, I'm going to take these surround channels and I'm going to assign them to the alpha mix. And I can name that in any way that I want. When I click on this icon, it's going to show me the submix. So let's rename this. We'll rename this left and right key. That basically means that this submix is only being keyed by the left and right channels. As you can see, all the other channels have been turned down in the submix, and the left and right channels are on. Additionally, I'm using a bandpass set to 82 Hz. So the submix is really only just feeding the kick drum to the surround channels. which means that anything that is being assigned to these surround channels is going to be compressed primarily by the kick drum coming out of channels left and right. In this section of the song, I've created some crazy automation from the synth bass line. And if you're wearing headphones, you're going to notice that whenever the bass is panned to the ceiling channels, it sounds further away. This is because I've adjusted that to be my binaural settings on playback. However, this bass track is going all over the place. And so what I want to do is I want to make sure that it's being keyed by the left and right channels, which is primarily the drums. So let's go ahead and solo the kick and snare and the drum loop. And let's take a look at what auralComp is doing. The surround channels and the ceiling channels are being triggered by the left and right key, which is the percussions. Let's hear those by themselves. Notice that when the kick hits, it's compressing the surround channels. In fact, we'll turn up the key 100% and now listen to the drums, percussions, and that crazy spinning bass track, and hear the bass track being compressed by the kick, no matter where it's being panned in the surround field. This kind of flexibility is not found with other plugins and is unique to the auralComp. Now, these are some extreme settings to prove a point. The point is that the surround channels can be keyed by the front channels and always stay intact in the mix to make sure that they're not disturbing the listener. Let's dial this back to more moderate settings. Now, the bass track is not the only instrument that's panned in the surround channels. There are many other instruments that are taking advantage of the immersive field. For example, the synths. They're panned to the back. The percussions are being panned to the height speakers, which you'll see reflected here. We're basically creating this awesome immersive mix using the surround panners, but auralComp is ensuring that nothing gets in the way of the drums or the rhythmic elements of the mix. Let's hear everything together with the bass and the other instruments. Here we go. Now that you have a better understanding of how this works, let's create another scenario. In the next scenario, let's ensure that the backing vocals don't get in the way of the lead vocals. And for that, I'm going to pan the lead vocals to the center channel and the backing vocals to the side channel. Let's have a look. So on the purple channels, I have the lead vocals, which are panned to the center channel, which is this one.
Oh, chasing the sun while it rises now, baby.
And then I have the backing vocals that are being panned to the side channels, which are these.
Chasing the sun while it rises now, baby.
So let's create a scenario in auralComp where the center channel is compressing the side channels. So we'll open up the plugin. The center channel, we'll set the link all the way down. That way the compressor settings are only being keyed by the input signal. In other words, the center channel is not going to be triggered by anything else. And the side channels that are going to be these two are going to be fed by a different submix. Here in the submix section, I'm going to crank up center channel, and I'm going to leave the filter area alone. So now these two channels, left side and right side, are listening to the center channel. When I play all this together, I can adjust the compression settings for the side channels, which are the backing vocals, independent from what's taking place in the center channel, which is the lead vocals.
Oh, chasing the sun while it rises now, baby. I see you smile a little more now lately. Look in my eyes, she said I'm not afraid at all.
This is what it sounds like bypassed.
Oh, chasing the sun while it rises now, baby. I see you smile a little more now lately.
Notice how much louder the backing vocals are. That's because they're not being compressed, they're not being keyed by the center channel. But when I crank the mix knob up all the way, they're listening to the center channel and they're being compressed by the center vocals. And by creating this kind of submix, it ensures that the backing vocals don't get in the way of the lead vocal.
Oh, chasing the sun while it rises now, baby. I see you smile a little more now lately. Look in my eyes, she said I'm not afraid at all.
Due to the complexity of surround sound mixing, auralComp is equipped with different summing methods for sidechain triggering signal. Neutral is the simplest blend in the same way that any DAW is blending signals on buses. Rectified is where signals are rectified before blending and creating a submix sum. And RMS is where signals are analyzed with root mean square methods, and this level is triggering the compressor. This does not have an audible effect, it just affects how the internal sidechain works. Lastly, in the limiter section, you have a Brickwall button that enables limiting, drive that sets the input gain between 0 and +20. It allows to raise the overall volume level and smash the signal if needed, a ceiling knob and an output knob. This ensures that your immersive mix hits the target loudness without going over the true peak limit. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Alex from AlexProMix. For more information on the auralComp, please be sure to visit pspaudioWare.com. Thank you for watching.